Assalamu alaikum. This is lecture number 8 in our course Work Team Building. That is for management or business administration department, level 4 students, Faculty of Commerce, zagazig University. This is Ahmad Amhawi lecturing, and today, or in this lecture, inshallah, we are introducing chapter 3 in our textbook related to project management. This is the fourth chapter we have. We had two chapters, first from Principles of Management textbook, and we had one chapter from Mental textbook concerning project management, and this is the second chapter for Mental project management, which is about the project manager. The project manager is a very important dimension for the success of a project. So this is why the text dedicated a whole chapter for it. As you see the picture here, it gives an impression that the project manager main job is to make trade-offs, is to work like a juggler who switches between tasks and missions and activities, money cuts and stuff like this. So it's a tough job, and the success of a project depends highly on that person. We have an outline here, or learning objectives. First, we will discuss the what he or she does as a project manager, the first tasks she or he handles, a comparison between a project manager and a functional manager, what might be the main responsibility of a project manager, career path, though it's not that clear. However, we will talk about it here. Also, we will talk about 6 basic demands of project managers. How do we select a project manager? And whenever we are dealing with big projects that cut across different groups of people, for example, different countries or something, we need to talk a little bit about the cultural differences and how project managers might deal with something like this. Let's start with the first point, introducing the topic. This story starts with a project that a company would like to launch, and the first thing they think about is find somebody has project management skills, leadership skills, able to come up with a plan. That's the person whom we call it here in our chapter project manager. So it's appointed, and we ask him or her to do these things in the very beginning, even before we say yes, go for the project. So he or she prepare a budget, provide schedules for the activities, select team members, and then approach and get to know the client, check facilities and supplies available for the project, establish communication mechanisms with stakeholders. You know, of course, that communication is a very important part in management. So he or she should have an idea about how he or she is clearing the channels of communication with clients, with the top management, and with the team members. So this is the very beginning of how he or she paved the way for doing his or her project. The second topic we will talk about is a comparison between the project manager and the functional one. However, And I'm sorry, after that we will talk about project responsibilities and then project manager's career path. Let's start with the first one, the differences or a comparison between functional and project managers. Um, the first and very obvious differences between them is that in a functional, for the functional managers, they specialize in some area, while project managers need to know or to cover too many or more than one area. I'm sorry. So a bit of many things in order to manage people that working in different functions. So this is the big differences. Here, the functional manager is a specialist and the project manager is a generalist. The second thing is that the functional manager main approach for working is to study and work deeply in some technical area. So analytical approach. This is what we call analytical. Whenever you go deep in something in one or few highly related area, specialized area, of course. While in a project managers, you don't deal with one point, you deal with many points related to a big problem. So it's what we call it system thinking approach. How to fit together too many things. So we call this systems approach. We don't dig hard, we don't work vertically here like in functional. We work here laterally, or we work as they call it horizontally. It's a system approach one. Our main work here is to direct, to command, and to show how things should be performed. In the other way, we have here the project manager's main way of work or management is to facilitate, is to motivate people, not to tell them how to do this, but to support them and being a generalist for their work. So this is the main differences between them. This is specialist and the other one is generalist. That one use analytical approach and the other one use systems approach. Here another picture that shows us another aspect of the difference. We will find a functional managers in a classical organizational structure, working in sub areas that are related to his or her main specialization, while in a project manager managing very distinct and different areas. Here we have finance and engineering, contracts and planning, while here we have 5 things that are related to marketing, sales, marketing research, marketing services. So that picture tells about how specialized functional managers are, and here how generalized generalists are project managers. We're still talking about the differences between functional and project managers. Functional managers might make some critical decisions for the projects. We don't want to underestimate their impact on projects, okay, because project managers bring people from different functions, and those people, they keep loyalty to their department. They take orders, or they take directions from functional managers. And this is a bit tricky because your team members in your project may listen more to their functional managers. If this happen, that will weaken your management ability. So the advice, you shouldn't allow something like this happen. You shouldn't lead the functional managers, lead your team members. In such situations, what happens is that usually project managements go to, or what they call it, referring up. They refer up to senior managers, somebody higher than the functional and the project itself. And in this case, we call it a micromanagement situation, where a senior managers intervene and solve the clashes between the functional and the project managers that comes from the fact that employees, team members in the project come from functional department and they listen to their functional manager more than their project manager, and that would threaten the project. You do your best not to let something like this, a situation of micromanagement, happen to you, inshallah, when you manage a project. We finished the first point. Now we are moving to what might be the main project responsibilities for a project managers. It is divided here into three categories: responsibilities to the parent organization, responsibilities to the project, and mainly the client. The focus of the whatever you are delivering is delivered to the client and to your team members, to the project team. To the parent organization, you need to save and be conservative with the resources, not to make mistakes that result in wastes, cost more than it should be. That is a major responsibility we have here. Finish your activities in time, be accurate in your communications and reports. A simple advice here: don't surprise your seniors. You don't like this, and that might affect your budget, your responsibilities. You may get micromanaged, and a way to avoid that is to always keep the seniors in the picture. Of course, one important responsibility to the organizations is to be competent. يعني تخليك كويس يعني competent in managing the project. The second category of responsibility, which is the one related to the project and the client, you are responsible for resolving conflicts, and they happen a lot in projects, especially big ones. Conflicts also as well with functional departments and their resistance to your work, and this is usually the situation. You will find resistance and intervening from the functional department in your work. It's one of your responsibility to the project and to the client. To the project team, usually anxiety affect them. Usually they have fear about the future, and whenever they go back to their department, what will happen to their career or their life after the project closed. So you need to think about their future career when the project terminates. That is one of the difficult responsibility project managers have in their project. The number three, or the third point that we have in project management and project managers, just a quick picture how it goes for their career path. Firstly, you become project managers by gaining skills from jobs. You get a job in a project, or you have training courses in project management, or you have degrees. We have degrees in project management, especially in the faculty of engineering, or in faculty of commerce, if they have operations management degrees for the management or business administration students. Also as well, seminars and workshops, and we have professional certificates actually, and if you like such career, getting a certificate like this is worthwhile. It's good, and it is demanded in industries that rely on projects like construction and software engineering. And if you get a certificate as a project management from PMI in the States, that would be a prestigious one. Of course, project management is not a disciplined, not a tidy, organized job. It's, as the textbook says here, it's a messy job. Things are not clear from the very beginning. You get a plan, and then after you begin the project, you find that your plan doesn't work on real ground. So you need to juggle, you need to work as the first picture we have about the project managers who play with 3 balls like that. This is how it goes in the life of a project. The classical logical path for a project manager is he or she starts small projects, then move to larger projects as a team member, then take the responsibility for being a project manager in a small project, and then to larger one. The tough thing is that, will this lead to be a chief executive or a chief secretary or in a big organization? يعني, in my opinion, yes, this happens. Actually, project managers, they become very good managers. Actually, they can work in functional department in a better way than the classical ones. Like in our texts, the authors, they doubt it. While in my experience, actually, I see that project managers are have better skills in planning, in leading, in organizing than the classical functional ones. Here is a long part in our chapter about the special demands on project managers. There are 6 demands. They need to do 6 things. Let's start with the first one, acquiring adequate resources. Resources is a big problematic area in projects. You usually work under the pressure of low resources you have. So usually you start a project with underestimated budget. If it costs 1 million, you take only 600,000 or 700,000, right? So how can you finish in an underestimated like this? This is one important point. Resources trade-offs are usually required. We talked about trade-offs in chapter 1. In trade-offs, you do something on the expense of the other. So if you would like to speed up an activity, you need to put more money for that activity to finish it earlier. If you don't have money, so that would come on the expense of time required for finishing an activity. If you don't have money and you don't have the time, so that would come on the expense of the quality of whatever you are delivering in the end, right? So trade-offs is this is why the picture of the project managers in the very beginning of the chapter was a juggler. Of course, we have lots of political conflicts. Political here, we mean being responsive and adapt and deal with power relations, especially with the functional departments, how to avoid conflicts with them or use conflicts for your benefit. This is political conflicts. How to turn win-lose game into win-win games. So this is one of the demands you need to deal with as a project manager. Championing is one of the nice and mysterious area in management. How can we find a champion for our project from the top management? The one that support us whenever we are in a corner, whenever we have problems. So we have this guy up there that support us and eliminate and move away the obstacles we have. And championing as well comes whenever you have one or more of your team member that work as a change agent. This is our champion in doing this, or our champion in starting something new that we don't know, or our champion that will learn something that we all don't know. So championing is part of what project managers should use in their work. Look for champions. They might have champions have many different meanings actually in management. The demand number 2, now we finish 1 here, acquiring adequate resources. Number 2, acquiring motivating personnel. In acquiring and motivating personnel, the problem here is that how can you motivate people that come temporarily to your work? How can you secure their future motivation, promotions and advances in their career while they come here for a short period? So, and how can we select people from other departments that are good ones? Usually departments, they send you the ones that they don't need, actually. So this is a big demand and big challenge, actually. Also, whenever you acquire people, how can you give them such support? High quality technical skills, political sensitivity. I'm sorry, these are the features that you look for whenever you acquire people. High quality technical skills, political sensitivity. Not only the project management should be political, also the team members should be political in dealing with the clients, in dealing with the functional departments, in dealing with their colleagues. Strong problem orientation, strong goal orientation. This is very difficult to find, actually, and getting people like this from a functional department in the organization or from the labor market out there is not easy. High self-esteem as well, not afraid of reporting their errors. These are the challenges that you have in acquiring and motivating personnel for projects. Number 2, we're still talking about acquiring and motivating personnel. Team members come from functional department. As I said before, how can you convince functional departments to provide good ones? It doesn't happen, actually. Convince them to accept that. Loyalty. Will they be loyal to the functional department or the project? This is another problem. Providing minimal supervision, maximum freedom in order to, not using the commanding and ordering, directing way, but instead providing cheerleading, supporting, maximum freedom and less control in order to be creative. Creativity is highly required in projects, actually. So this is one of the important difficult point we experience in managing projects. Dealing with obstacles. Life of projects are full of obstacles, actually. Crises start from the very beginning with less resources you need to deal with. They might concern the budget, technical plans, senior management approval, client approval, right? Usual problem in one create others problems. If you don't have enough money, you cannot finish in time, and if you can finish in time, you may that may come on the expense of quality. So they have these knock-on effects on your project. At the final stage, problems circle around last minute, scheduling, technical changes, what will happen to the team members. All these are problems and obstacles. So one of the demands for project managers is how can we deal with such obstacles. We talked about trade-offs. This is actually central point to project managers, how to make such trade-offs. In chapter 1, we talked about the project life cycle. It has stages. In each stage, you will find some areas are more important than others. So you may concentrate on one area that would come on the expense on the others. So in the formation stage, in the very beginning, in the early time of the project, you may talk about performance, right? But while you are working in the middle, performance goes second, and you begin to talk about cost. I may come a little bit on the performance in order to cut cost. In the final stage, you will find that you are concentrating on time on the expense of cost and performance. So you see, trade-offs may have some logical path, actually. Some studies say that in the formation, you may be talking about the 3. While in the previous slide, we said that performance comes first here in the formation stage. However, while you are providing your plan, you talk about the 3. But in the build-up, schedule come first, performance come second, cost come third. In the main stage, performance and schedule come first, cost come third, while in phase out, the last stage, performance come first, schedule come second, cost come first. This is the result of a project actually that I don't know, it contradicts with the previous slide, while both came from the same textbook. We're still talking about the trade-offs. We will stop our lecture here and continue the chapter in our 9th lecture inshallah. Thank you.